Welcome to the Strong Enough Podcast, your relationship wellness podcast. I'm your host, Claudia. Today's guest is going to share with us how 2 tours in Iraq brought him home craving normalcy. He decided to write a book and is now hoping that other veterans and their loved ones can gain support through his words and stories. Please help me in welcoming Eric Herrera. Eric, thank you so much for being here with me today. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing great as well. The weather has turned here a little bit in Colorado, so I am enjoying some snow, which I'm apparently one of the few that enjoys around here.
It's not quite there yet here in Chicago. It turned 50, but it's not where it usually gets.
Dicey and icy, and I think you get a different kind of snow than I get because here it's really nice and fluffy and powdery, so that's why I love it. But enough about me. I would love for you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
As I'm from Chicago, I've lived here all my life. Decided when I was around 19, I joined the military. A lot of different things happened in my life, and I just decided, I need to get away and do other things. I ended up going to Germany and stayed there for about 3 years and did 2 deployments while I was there to Iraq. Been out for maybe the last 10 years. I got out in 2010, and right now I'm living a more peaceful life than I have before.
First off, I do want to say thank you so very much for your service. Without people like you, people like me would not be able to live life the way I enjoy it. So thank you for everything that you have done for us.
It's no problem.
So I want to talk a little bit about your deployments. I know that you have written a book. So we're going to get to the book, but tell me a little bit about your tours in Iraq.
A lot of political back and forth, which it always is. And being in Germany, it's also kind of being deployed as it is. It's nothing like here back in the States where there's like large bases. I think like some bases are like 60,000 troops or something like that. We only had roughly about 5,000 in our whole little town, so it's a little bit different. I was deployed in 06, 07. So that was kind of like with the height of the Iraq war. During that time, Bush had his surge. So he sent in like 20,000 troops. We were there when that happened. And my first deployment was probably one of the more memorable ones. A lot of things happened. And as my job title was, I was a bomb hunter. So I was a combat engineer, and our mission during that time was to find roadside bombs on the side of the road so troop movement could be a lot easier. Found a lot of IEDs our first deployment in Baghdad, and compared to my second one, it was not like a cakewalk, but it was a more relaxed environment. We ended up in a small town called Hilla, which is about an hour and a half south of Baghdad. Hilla is more made famous for where Saddam had his mass graves of all the people he killed. So when we were there, the people were trying to rebuild the town to what it originally was. And it's really just a tale of 2 deployments.
What led you to become a bomb hunter?
Mistake? Well, not really mistake. When I joined, my mother said not to do infantry, but I think I picked the worst job of it. I looked up combat engineer, and the description for it was clearing minefields and building fortifications, but those descriptions were more for World War II and Vietnam soldiers. My uncle, who was in Vietnam, was actually a combat engineer as well, so he gave me a few pointers. But during the Iraq War, there wasn't necessarily minefields. They were more like in Afghanistan. But the big thing were the IEDs that were on the side of the roads. So being combat engineers, we knew explosives and what to look for, how they operate, things of that nature. They decided to put combat engineers at that job.
I remember hearing you on another podcast or a Facebook Live talking about, I'm not sure if it was a barracks that you were in, but you were like in building C, floor 4, so C4.
Yeah, so my college dorm was building C, 4th floor, so it was C4. So that kind of that should have gave me a wake-up call. But yeah, it's another unique thing.
So I don't think we really have to go into detail about what you experienced in Iraq, but I want to talk about when you came home. I feel like you had some struggles. Would you talk a little bit about that and how it was returning not only from the military, but you were also returning to the U.S. in quite some time since you had been in Germany as well?
Yeah, the culture of it all did shift. It was almost kind of like I was in a completely different dimension, because I was in the military from 2005 to 2010. That's when Twitter, YouTube, and the iPhone and all that was coming out. So I really had no idea what those things were. And I had to come back and, reintegrate myself with it, especially in Germany, languages is different. So seeing an exit sign was a shocker, just being able to read English off like a highway sign or something. But as you're saying, like coming back, a lot of soldiers have the problems where they don't have a plan when they come out. And that was one of the things I wanted to do. I wanted to make sure when I did leave, I had a plan. I wanted to join the Chicago Police Department. I ended up getting denied by that. I tried to join TSA. I got denied as well because of my hearing. They told me I had the hearing of a 60-year-old man, and I was 23. And so I got denied a lot of those jobs, and I was kind of like, oh man, what am I going to do now? Because those were my plans. And, I did odd jobs trying to get on my feet, and I decided that I was going to go back to school. Since I did my time, I was able to get the GI Bill, and it paid for all 4 years of my education, and including my housing. So I really didn't have to worry about anything like that. So I got my degree in business management, and right now I'm a property manager. But during those 10 years, it was rough for me because a lot of the memories were with me, and especially during my first deployment where we lost soldiers, and speaking with family members. A lot of the family members got like half truths of what happened to their loved ones. And being there for those incidences, I wanted them to know the truth, because I know there was a lot of half truths, some lies, people saying different things, and made me upset that I want them to know what the truth was. So a lot of them gave my blessing to write my book because they wanted to know what happened. And being able to write relieved a lot of stress on my shoulders.
It took you several years to be able to write the book. Did you think about it early on and just weren't ready? Or did you not think of writing it until you did and then just kind of jumped in full steam?
During all my years at school, I always sucked at English. So writing a book was kind of the farthest thing away from my mind. It wasn't until actually I went back to college. I had an English teacher who was actually a linguist, and he helped me understand English a lot better and how it's framed and everything. And I started getting A's in English. So, you know what? Maybe I will write. I don't know. But it wasn't until 2009 I actually had a mental breakdown in my kitchen. Just all the memories and emotions were coming back, and I just let out this horrendous scream almost. in the middle of my kitchen, and I felt a hell of a lot better, but I knew that there had to been a lot more to do. So what I was trying to do, I wanted to make videos, tell the stories of what happened, but I'm not that too much of social media savvy, so I wasn't sure how I'd be able to get my message out there. That's when I decided, maybe I should write. And I just wrote about one story, and I felt a little bit better, so I just kept writing. All those little stories were off my shoulders. I didn't have to carry that burden anymore. And I halfway during this writing, I said, you know what, I'm not going to hold anything back. I'm going to tell every single emotion that I had. And it was rough. But the more I wrote, the better I felt, and the quicker I got it done, because I didn't have to have that burden anymore. It's down on paper. I don't have to carry the memories. And a lot of the things that I did write was shocking to a lot of my family and friends, but they have a better understanding of what I was going through.
As you were writing, do you feel like that was the best kind of therapy that you could have done to deal with what you went through?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I was at college, I walked through the library, and there was a lady there who had a table out, and it said Veteran Resource Center. So, you know what, I'm gonna just check it out, and I talked to her, and she says, we provide therapy. Well, where are you located? And I found out that this resource center was located about 8 blocks away from my house. I never knew this place ever existed, and I kind of wish I would have known more about it ahead of time, but I didn't. I decided to go, and telling my story, I really felt nauseous. I felt sick. I was saying things that I never actually said before, and it almost felt like my lower body was gone. That's just how sickening I felt. And I told her, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I'm not ready. I'll come back. And I never did. But about 4 years later, that's when I decided to write the book.
I know that quite often, and it is getting better, but men particularly struggle with talking about feelings, talking about emotion, and being open about mental health challenges. Did you feel that? And if so, did you feel like it was compounded even more by being a veteran?
Coming back, we would talk with the guys about the different things that happened, but those were actually the only people I could talk to because they understood what we were going through. Coming back, I really never told anyone. I couldn't really confide in anybody. And yeah, I grew up with that stigma of, yeah, you're a man, you keep it in. You don't tell your emotions. But the more I was talking with people like my friends, and they wanted to learn what I went through, and it was a big help. But yeah, I mean, to say that stigma is still around, and I don't believe it anymore, and I just hope a lot of other guys do too.
I do as well, and that, is one of the reasons that we're here. I want to ask you about your book and how you think it helps loved ones of veterans, because I know that is often a big struggle when somebody does come back from a deployment. Their loved ones don't know how to act or what to say or what to do. Talk to me a little bit about that and what advice you would give.
I get asked that a lot. Family members coming up to me, what should I do? Well, there's really no blueprint for this. I could give you the best scenario. Just read what I went through. I give you every emotion I felt, and it gives you a better understanding on how to, lack of a better phrase, deal with their loved ones or help them. And a lot of people say, yeah, it does help. I get a better idea of what they're thinking. I struggle with it a lot. I wouldn't make friends because I actually had that in my mind. I lost friends, and I was thinking, well, I don't want to make new friends because I don't want to feel that same way when they're gone. I had that mindset for a very long time. So that's another thing why veterans are kind of close to themselves, because I'm pretty sure they've lost friends and they don't want to feel that same pain as I did.
How are you able to change that and to be able to put yourself out there and start to build new friendships and relationships?
It's hard. I mean, I had to change a lot of my mindset. There was a lot of things I couldn't even do. I couldn't even listen to music in my car while I drive. I had to listen to talk radio because the music would bring me back to those memories. It's a slow pace. It took me 10 years. I mean, there's no timetable of what it is. It's just you have to come to what you want to do, or find something that helps you with those struggles. I mean, I took up fish keeping for about 5 years. It's a tough hobby, but it kept my mind off of what I was thinking, and I was able to enjoy it at the same time. You always have to find something to keep your mind off of what it is. And when I finally had that mental breakdown in my kitchen, I didn't need my fish tanks anymore. And the fish tanks became more of a burden on me because I didn't need that coping mechanism anymore. So I had got rid of them. But yeah, you just have to find your thing. I know every veteran has their own thing, whether it's hiking or riding. My uncle was riding motorcycles. My other uncle was another Vietnam vet. His was photography. Find something that you're passionate about and keep it up as a hobby. It gets your mind off a lot of that stuff.
Were you able to connect at all with your uncles over what you went through and what they probably went through as well?
My one uncle who was a combat engineer, he saw a lot of change in me when I would come back for leave. He would see it in my face right away and would want to talk to me instantly. He went through a lot as well during his time in Vietnam, and he was also a Chicago cop for over 25 years. So, I mean, he had his struggles through that. My other uncle, he did too, but he was a Navy man, so he really didn't have to deal with the same kind of struggles. Every time we got together, it was always a fight back and forth, because my uncle, who's in the Navy, said one time him and his wife went back to Vietnam for vacation, and my uncle, who was in the Army, said, "Are you crazy? You couldn't pay me to go back to Vietnam," and have a big argument. And he asks me, he's like, would you go to Iraq for vacation? I said, hell no, I'm not going to go back there for vacation. So it's a joke that we had for a long time about it. But yeah, they helped a lot.
What else helped you through that? The fish keeping was a big thing for you. You said when you had that mental breakdown, you kind of let that go. It became a burden. What else have you continued to do for yourself to keep your mind well?
It was mainly the writing. Also doing these podcasts have been a bigger help. I found out a lot of times that when I do these, it's not my responsibility, but it's my opportunity to get the awareness out there for veterans that are struggling. Because now the number has gone up now to 22 veteran suicides a year. Only about 5 years ago, it was 20. So the number is rising really quickly. And since I've been doing these, a lot of people have been speaking out. I see billboards now on the highway about veteran suicide and hotline numbers, but a lot of those hotline numbers really don't help. You're probably put on hold for a while. Even VA hospitals, you have to wait 6 months just to get an appointment. But there has to be more advertisement, I think, about these resource centers that I never even knew that was right next door to me. I know I'm more fortunate because I'm in a bigger city. A lot of soldiers are in a lot of small towns, and their resource center might be 2-3 hours away. So, I mean, you need to have a better chance so these soldiers could help themselves.
What can we do? I mean, you said more advertising, letting people know about the resources that you didn't know about. What else can we do you think, to help our veterans when they're struggling?
I know here in Chicago, they're building homes, so like apartment complexes, but as soon as they go up, they're filled. So I mean, it's I don't know, it's just a thing about more awareness about helping them out. I mean, even the town that I'm in, we do drives now for homeless veterans. We've been doing it for like the last 2 years. So just giving hygiene supplies or some food or things like that. I mean, and we're just a small group. I mean, you could just start anything up and be able to do this. There's a lot of programs out there that do help homeless vets. So it's best to get in contact with some of them and ask how they can help.
What does it mean to you to be able to do those things now and help other people that may be in a similar situation to you or that you were in when you were kind of at that lowest point?
Another thing I also do, my father, he actually owns a military Humvee. So I take the Humvee to car shows, and a lot of the people that come around are former vets, and they just come around and talk about the memories that they had. It's another group of therapy. And even like a lot of soldiers are like, thank you for bringing back these memories and able to talk and you have 30-minute conversations just talking about things. Just small little things like that do help out.
Tell me, when you have these conversations with people, is it hard for you? Does it bring up or kind of trigger some of your experiences? Or as you talk about it, does it become easier because you're talking with someone that kind of gets you?
It's become easier for me, even with people such as yourself, people that don't know. It has become a lot easier. I was at a point where I would just not speak or not give an answer at all. But I'm at that point now where I realize that it's helping me, and the more I can help myself and I help people at the same time, I'm content with it.
What would you say, because I know we do have military individuals, veterans that watch or listen. So if they are struggling, what advice would you give them?
The one thing that I could really give you is if you just Google Veteran Resource Centers, there's a website where you could actually type in your zip code and it'll show you the closest resource center. These places are not just like therapy sessions. They have outings. They have group talks. So other veterans come together and talk about their experiences as well. There's so many other programs there that I didn't utilize that I know. I know like single soldiers might be able to do, but that's the best advice I could give them.
And I know we talked a little bit earlier about family, friends of veterans, but if they are seeing a loved one suffer, what should they do? Should they also Google those resources and try to get their loved one to accept that help?
Yeah, I mean, just give them the information. I know when I left the military, I was given a pamphlet of numbers, and usually you're just left on hold. And with everything in the military, it's a slow process. So just being in that mind frame is already putting you at a disadvantage. So, I mean, you have to know it in yourself that there are places out there that actually really do care. And I see a lot of them now are actually working for a lot of people. So it's getting better. I mean, it's taken a while, but it's trying to get better now.
That's what I was going to ask you. If you felt like from when you got out to now, do you think that the resources have improved, or at least the accessibility to the resources have improved at all?
They have, especially with technology improving. I'll tell you a story. When I left, I got out in 2010, but I had 3 years left of inactive reserve. So I had to report to a base for like once a year. The last 3 months, I would get a phone call, an email, and a recruiter come to my door almost every day asking me to come back. And it was nonstop. And I was like, no, unless you're going to give me some outrageous signing bonus or something like that, I'm never going to come back. And the last day that my contract was completely done, I never got a phone call, email, or any recruiter come to my door ever again. And all during that time was me to come back. It was never anything for any resource center or help if I needed it or suicide line. That was back in 2010, 2003. So in that time frame, now I see it's a lot better now. I see a lot of signs for different things. So yeah, it has gotten better.
Did you feel let down by the military for being treated that way, for kind of just hounding you to come back, but not to really help you?
I could, but how I looked at it is that I made a trade with the military. I gave my life for the military in exchange for a college education or experience or some to better me for the rest of my life. That's how I saw it. I could have have a vendetta against them because of that, but that just wouldn't solve the things that I was going through. I got my education, I finished it on time, and I just say, all right, that's the end of our relationship.
I think that honestly is the best attitude to have, because you weren't carrying that negativity with you. So were you able to always have that outlook and that attitude, or did that come with time?
That had to come with time. When I got out, I was a grumpy old man. Every little thing would bother me. Kids, I was in a Best Buy. Kids were running up and down the aisles, and I was screaming at the kids, stop running. And I realized, oh wow, I'm not back where I was, so I can't be doing that. It took me a while to calm down or realize that people weren't the same as in the military. The bad thing about it is, in the military, if you do fuck up, they'll make an example out of you or put you in a place where you're out of sight, out of mind. If you do that here, yeah, you can't do that. So it was just, like I said, it's a whole new world that I had to get adjusted to, and it did take me a while to get used to it. But that discipline and focus helped me with my college. I became a straight A student. I would never thought of that in a million years I would ever be that way, but it did. That focus helped me a lot.
So in the end, good things definitely came from your experience.
Yeah, I explained that at the end of my book, how I feel about it now, and I have no regrets about it.
Is there anything that you didn't say in your book that you wish you had?
No. But there are some stories I had to leave out because I still had a lot of friends in the military, so I couldn't say those stories. Everyone says that should be your book too. I'm like, well, it's going to be wait a couple more years for that one if that's going to happen. But yeah, a lot of things that I went through, struggles in basic training. I struggled a lot in basic training because I was actually 100 pounds over what I was supposed to be. I was about 270 pounds. I'm 6'3", and at 19, the military said I had to be 180 pounds. And during my 16 weeks of basic training, I actually lost about 60 to 70 pounds in those 16 weeks. But I was still considered overweight, and I looked like a string bean being at 6'3". I never once, one time I actually made weight one time because I went up in age, and the number went up. So that's the only time I ever made weight in the military. But yeah, different stories that I have during Germany, bar stories, also good times. It's not all depressing and everything, but I want to make sure that people understand what soldiers actually go through. I always say that my book is a small chapter in a bigger book because every soldier has their own story.
I read several reviews of your book, and that is kind of the attitude that many people had. First off, it was raving 5-star reviews across the board. But, people said it really did give that look into the real life of a soldier. How proud does that make you feel that you were able to put that on paper and give it out to so many people and give them that real life look?
That was my number one focus, that I was not going to regret anything that I put in there. If I did upset somebody, it usually means that they did something wrong. And if they wanted to come after me for it, well, then you're going to have to own up for the mistakes you made. And as soon as I wrote the book, I got a lot of friend requests, messages from people that I haven't spoke to in years or never even spoke to in my life, but I know who they are. I'm just going to ignore it. If you want to come after me, but we're going to have a chat.
I presume it died down.
It did. A lot of, especially one of our commanders that I felt was out of line. He ended up dying of cancer about a month before I published the book. So I was like, all right, well, at least I never mentioned him, but I don't know. I just say karma.
I hear you on that for sure. Tell me, what do you do for fun? What makes you smile these days?
My kids mostly. Right now I don't do fish keeping anymore, but I do keep some reptiles now. That's my new thing. I had never thought I would keep reptiles, but I'm always willing to learn. I do car shows now. I take the Humvee, go to different car shows. Even if it's small events in my town, I bring the Humvee and see the kids smile and everything, just so they could enjoy it and experience the real thing. That's what gets me going, just be able to teach people about it. I even started going on TikTok now, just giving little things about the Humvee and jokes and stuff. So, that's just my new thing. I'm enjoying it and learning at the same time. I'm just taking it day by day. I still have a lot of quirks and everything. I can never wear a shirt and tie. I couldn't even wear hoodies up until a while ago because things around my neck would bother me because of the gear I had. I still can't wear a shirt and tie, though, but I mean, this is as close as I'm going to get. I could wear polos. But it's been 2 years, but I'm still healing. I don't think I'll ever stop healing.
I'm so glad you said that, because I think a lot of people don't realize that and don't think about that any kind of trauma that we go through, there's not one day that you just flip that switch and you're like, cool, I'm better now. Everything's great. Like, it is an ongoing process. So thank you for saying that and sharing that. And you know what? Not being able to wear a shirt and tie, I mean, that's not so bad, right? Like,
with the job I'm in, yeah. But I mean, I have tattoos too, so I'm kind of like, okay, whatever. I'm like the example of not workplace environment.
It's modern workplace environment, and we are going to get to those tattoos in a minute. I want to ask you about your reptiles, because I am a furry pet person. So I want to hear a little bit about what you got going on with the reptile family.
My daughter is the one that's into it, so she has a couple ball pythons. I wasn't like dead afraid of snakes, But if it comes along and wants to mess with me, yeah, you're gonna deal with me. But I just had a whole nother outlook on it. So learning that as well, and now I handle them no problem. I also have a gecko, so Papua New Guinea Leachianus gecko that I've had since it was 3 weeks old. I'm doing, but yeah, just they're a lot more low maintenance than fish, so it's a better environment for me.
I think people don't realize how much work fish actually are. Like, not just a goldfish that you have in a tiny bowl, but like if you have aquariums, that's a lot of work that you got to deal with.
Yeah, I got into saltwater fish. I had a 36-gallon tank was what I started out with, and I ended up building my own pond that's about 600 gallons. So it's sitting right here. So this red that you kind of see, that's the one side of it. So it goes about 5 feet that way. So, I mean, I built my own pond and I kept raising sharks. So, but yeah, it's a completely different thing, just water and fish. You have to do a whole bunch of other things. I never got into coral because that's a whole nother ball game and money down the drain deal.
I applaud your willingness to accept snakes into your life, because like if I found a snake in my house, I'd just have to burn the house down. Like I wouldn't, there would be no coming back.
I told my daughter nothing more than 5 feet long.
Yeah, well, more power to you, because I'll just look at yours from afar and admire them. How about that?
Yeah.
Tell me, Eric, some wellness advice that you would give out, just generally speaking. What can people do to keep themselves well?
I think I'm the last person to tell anybody about that. I love to eat.
Same.
No, I just do a lot of things. I go out and experience new things, hiking, or go to like a festival or something like that. I mean, I'm willing to go see anything. I mean, if it's going to get me out of the house, yeah, I'll go on an adventure. I don't care. It can't be any worse than what I did before. That's what I tell a lot of people is like, well, a lot of people tell me like, why am I so like cool, calm, and collected or sometimes? And I'm like, well, no one's dying right now, so I really can't. Not going to over exaggerate on things. Yeah, I just go out and do different things. Even it could be some like wacky thing. I go to Renaissance fairs. I go to aquariums, museums. I mean, zoos. I mean, I love animals, so I like to do all those things. So, yeah, just being out, just go out and have something fun. That's the best thing you could do.
Do you dress up for the Renaissance fairs?
Sometimes.
I love it. Eric, we have talked about some heavy things, so I want to move to something a little lighter, and you mentioned it earlier, tattoos. So I love tattoos. I have tattoos. I'm getting more tattoos. You also have tattoos, you mentioned. I think it's perfectly professional and businessy to have tattoos now. But tell me, what is the favorite tattoo that you have?
Ooh. That's a tough one. Every tattoo I have means something to me. On my left forearm, I have the 4 soldiers that died. I have the cross with the dog tags on them and have their names and the dates they passed. On my right forearm, I have all my units that I was with, and I have my kids on there. On my back, I have Bomb Hunter across the back. That's usually the one I get most talked about. People come up to me and ask, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. On my leg, from my knee all the way down to my ankle, I have a portrait of my fish that I used to have. So one of my stingrays is on there, my eel that I had, and my Australian stonefish that I had. I don't know if my kids would like it, but the stonefish means the most to me, because my love for animals, and the Australian stonefish is the most venomous fish in the world. And I kept 2 of them for about 4 years. They don't move. They just stand still, and they eat anything that comes by. But they helped me so much in my healing. And it was almost, I don't get like into the spiritual side of it, but the day where I actually felt like I didn't need my fish anymore, my stonefish that I had for 4 years, he got sick out of the blue, and he passed shortly after that. So it was kind of like, I think he did his time to help me heal. And it was an emotional moment, but I mean, it's something that helped me out a lot. But my kids, they mean the world to me too, so I have them. But I really do like my mural that I have. I have around it too. It almost looks like how the guy did it. It almost looks like it's in my leg. So he shaped it around my calf and everything like that to make it look like it's like stuck in my leg. So it has a real nice effect to it.
That's super cool. Any future tattoos planned?
It's getting expensive now, so I really can't. I did the one on my leg, and my guy said, I'm going to have to double it. I'm like, oh man, you already got me gave me the discount, but yeah, it's like, I might hold off for tattoos for now.
Makes sense. I wish I was as responsible as you are. So Eric, where can people find you if you want them to? Where can they find your book if they want to check that out? My book is called A Bomb Hunter Story, My Life Clearing the Roads of Iraq. It's on Amazon in paperback and Kindle. People have been asking me for an audio book, so right now I'm in the works of talking with someone to get that for me. So hopefully soon that might happen. I haven't started it yet, but it's going to come out. I'm also on TikTok. My handle's Sapper720. So SAPPER 720. I do videos on the Humvee, do goofy stuff with my kids. So that's something to get it out there. I love that. Did you ever think of anything like TikTok when you came back and saw Twitter and YouTube and all that good stuff way back when?
So the only thing I had way back when was MySpace. So that's a blast from the past. And I did have Facebook, but I rarely used it. Twitter was new to me. Even YouTube was new to me. Twitter, I got on it maybe a year ago finally, but I still don't go on it because it's a lot of crazy stuff on there. But TikTok, I heard things about it, and I think someone showed me a couple of videos and I got hooked right away. I just have that dark sense of humor, so the funny videos get me. So that's what I try to do.
I am going to definitely check you out. I'm on there, but I'm not really on there. So I'm at least going to come find you. Eric, thank you so much for talking with me today. I really appreciate you sharing your story and talking about your book and really giving some great advice to veterans, families, and the general public. So thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me.
I really hope you guys enjoyed my conversation with Eric as much as I did. I truly appreciate his willingness to open up and talk about writing his book and what we can do to better support our veterans. So remember, until next week, you are strong enough and you are worth it. Thank you for listening to the Strong Enough podcast. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform by searching Strong Enough. And on YouTube, we're available on the Spear Talk channel. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Strongenoughpod. If you have suggestions for an upcoming episode or a future guest, please reach out at strongenoughpod@gmail.com. Remember, you are worth it.